And the Stanhopes are not alone in their passion for Canberra. As the capital, Canberra is home to the National Cultural Institutions, a dry phrase, and yet for the directors of those institutions, many of them newly appointed, they're a source of pride and passion. In a week that saw a federal budget and so much politicking, it seemed timely to take a look at what else matters in our society and what roles these places play in the lives of ordinary Australians.
I happen to believe that there is such a thing as a public good and that governments do an enormous amount on behalf of that public good, and one of the ways that that is expressed is through institutions like this one. It talks to Australians about our history, about our achievements, about politics, about dance, about music, about writing, about what it has been like to be an Australian, and to explore, I guess, the challenges and opportunities that have been presented by living in this country for thousands of years.
Is it possible to define national identity through these institutions?
I think in many ways we are the embodiment of national identity, however it has been described over the years.
And you would say that these institutions sort of help us have that conversation about it?
Yes. And that's in part because they tell us how that conversation went decades or hundreds of years ago, and they tell us how different people have grappled with it, how they've sought to express it. I think another thing that is worth saying is that research done in Australia about libraries in general demonstrates that people say that they love being in libraries because libraries are open, accessible and equitable. And so they say that in a library they're far more inclined to talk to someone who is different or perceived as different to them, because the entire atmosphere is conducive to that kind of conversation. The physical space of a building like this is extremely important in terms of not only what it enables people to do, but I think in terms of what it expresses about us as a community, as a country. And it is no accident that our national cultural institutions are positioned very deliberately, very consciously. They are visible, they speak to each other in terms of their geography as well as what happens behind the scenes, and they were built to last, and I think that's a wonderful thing.
We're very excited about the National Portrait Galleries building. We've been here for, we're into our third year now on King Edward Terrace, and as a national award-winning building, it's probably one of the most comfortable spaces in Canberra. I think people are also alert to portraiture now in a way they haven't been. People are very much more engaged with their sense of self, selfhood, identity, and of course history in terms of who we are. We love stories, we love learning about people, and I don't think that matters at what age you are. It also gives us this sense of what we might be capable of. So a lot of role models in the National Portrait Gallery. One of the exciting pieces that's a little bit unusual is our Geoface distributor, our sculpture at the front of the gallery by James Angus. It's our meeting point, but it's also a little unusual because it's not a representative portrait, and I think that puts people a little bit, they're not sure what they're going to find when they come into the portrait gallery, and I think that's a good thing, because if we knew everything in advance, we probably wouldn't go on any adventures, we wouldn't go on journeys, and we wouldn't experience things in a new way. They're just vital places. I mean, I grew up in country New South Wales without a gallery on my doorstep, and I had no idea really until I saw a work and I stood in front of it, and I could just sort of feel it. I could feel the paint on the surface, and I could just be totally carried away and immersed in the work, and it really had a profound influence on me, and I haven't stopped since. So I think it's a really incredible value to our community in a broad sense, but also in a very personal and intimate way.
I think a country that doesn't have a National Archives is still in short pants. You know, it says we're a developed country. We are a modern, contemporary democracy in which people have rights, and they have the right to information that enables them to exercise those rights. And we have a system of government which means that the government respects those rights. It's really holding the essential evidence of the way the government has interacted with ordinary Australians over the course of the last 100 years and more. And we hold the essential evidence of those interactions that mean that almost every family in Australia can find something in the archives that relates to them.
What are some of the highlights for you of the archives collection?
Well, the outstanding one, of course, is the Constitution and the Commission of Royal Assent that Queen Victoria signed to give effect to the Constitution. And it's probably the most important document that the Archives has in its custody, and it's probably one of the most important documents that Australia has.
What would an Australia without institutions like the Archives be like?
Well, it'd be, I think, a lot like some other countries in the world where you couldn't rely upon the government to keep its word. You couldn't hold the government to account. You couldn't know what the government had done. And in many respects, you wouldn't be able to answer that big question that I think is an inherently human question, is how did we get into this situation?